It's an Orwellian satanic satire. You know, it's worth reading once. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Get that coffee. Today is Revolt of the Angels by the French author Anatole France, published in 1914. This was a kind gift from Daniel C. Thank you very much, man. I sincerely appreciate it. What a cover. This edition is very strange, too. Okay, so it says, is the Revolt of the Angels a tongue-in-cheek Anatole France farce of celestial proportion or proof positive of the UFO conspiracy? You decide. Oh dear. I've been wanting to review this for quite some time. Anatole France is a highly respected French author who grew up around books. You can count Proust among his admirers. His dad owned a bookshop. Eventually France became a librarian. He was also a poet and a journalist. From the sounds of it, his whole life was immersed in books. And that certainly plays into the world of this book, as we'll see. One of the main settings of the book is this library. Revolt of the Angels, which I believe is his most famous book, was published the year he turned 70. And 7 years later, in 1921, he won the Nobel Prize in Literature. So he was a real deal. This book is notorious. You know, I hadn't heard about this book until not too long ago, which surprises the hell out of me, no pun intended, because, you know, I was obsessed with Paradise Lost when I was a teenager, and anything remotely pagan or satanic I could get my hands on, you know, so it was, it's surprising to me that I'd never come across this, especially considering how readable it is. It's very, very easy read, very easy read, but I mean, this was written over 100 years ago, and it's so strikingly modern. I mean, we'll get into that. But yeah, I'm a little shocked. The story takes place in Paris, France in 1914, the same year it was published. It's a kind of adventure comedy, right? It's a satirical narrative that attacks Christian doctrine and political despotism. And also, preceding the two major wars of the 20th century, it was an unheeded warning. While it is the case that it is an attack on a lot of the tenets of Christianity, I do think that Christians will also find it interesting. There's definitely some food for thought, but ultimately, you know, kind of like Paradise Lost, you know, it doesn't really sway me one way or the other religiously. It just seems to offer a lot to consider. The book is an explicit demonstration of the famous adage, you know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a source of power, there's a bunch of discontent, there's a revolution, they're overthrown, and whoever gets in charge comes to resemble who they overthrew. Not unlike Orwell's Animal Farm. And Orwell, I believe, was aware of France. Apparently France wrote another satirical novel, which I haven't read, called Penguin Island. And it's all about the history of France, depicted within a colony of penguins. Maybe one day, we'll see. But yeah, this book it's an attack on utopic idealism. Its verdict seems to be that, you know, the overthrow of a tyrannical power will always lead to the same shit, which is just another tyrannical power, and on we go, this revolutionary cycle, right? As this was a time, of course, of serious political upheaval, and the author of France was a socialist and supported communism. That turned out great, of course, but then, you know, they didn't have the advantage of hindsight, did they? So this book, of course, takes place after the war in heaven found in the New Testament and Revelations. That story also inspired, was famously depicted in and expounded upon in John Milton's epic poem Paradise Lost. You probably know it already by now, but you know, Lucifer, the angel, the renegade angel whose countenance fell after considering the position of his servitude, together with other angels in heaven whom he inspires, wage war in heaven upon God the Almighty and God's archangel Michael. Of course, they lose, and he, along with his horde of fallen angels, are cast out down into the pit. And there, Lucifer is transformed into Satan, peering up at heaven from down below hell's ridges. And speaking of ridges, today's episode is sponsored by the Ridge Wallet. My friend, are you tired of carrying a wrinkled, stinky piece of dead cattle skin warping your spine out of alignment? What? You're not? Oh. Okay, well, alright then. Of course you are! It's undignified. Who wants to go home with that? In that case, might I suggest the Ridge Wallet. These things are awesome. They are light, sleek, industrial, beautiful little pieces of utilitarian minimalist design. This is the Forged Ember model. It's quite appropriate for, you know, damnation and all that. They also have another similar design, the Forged Ash model. Very cool. Holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash on the back. This one comes with a cash strap. You can also switch it out for a cash clip. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life. In fact, I still have my old one from years back. It's held up just fine. I carry it every day. They'll let you test it out for 99 days. And if you don't love it, you can send it back for a full refund. That's amazing. That's over 3 months. Plus, these wallets have over 50,000 5-star reviews. That's very impressive. And if you don't care for these ones, there's over 30 colors and styles to choose from. If it turns out you miss your leather wallet, Ridge has got you covered. They have these new oil-waxed full-grain leather Ridge wallets that come in brown, as shown here, and black as well. And if you tend to lose things or you're worried about your wallet going missing, no worries at all. They have this new Apple AirTag cash clip, so you just replace your strap or current clip and put this on. You just use this little screwdriver that comes in the package. It'll hold your cash and your Apple AirTag, so you can always track the location of your Ridge wallet. Get 10% off your order today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/betterthanfood and using the discount code betterthanfood. The link is below. Thanks a bunch. So again, this is a comedy. Paradise Lost is very much not a comedy. This is definitely a comedy. There's this old cantankerous librarian named Monsieur Sadegh, and he's managing the Despavieux library. The name of this family is Despavieux. Monsieur Sadegh is very stingy. He treats the books like precious items and never to be spoiled by the hands of anybody who should want to read or borrow them. God forbid, right? He wants everything like exactly as it should be. He organizes everything in this. It's funny how France describes his organizational system. It's like, it's basically completely impenetrable. So, unfortunately for him, books are disappearing mysteriously from the library. Very choice and rare editions. And even though he stays in the library all night, he can never find the intruder or, catch them in the act. It's driving him insane, literally. Try to guard them as he might, he can't account for them disappearing. It's baffling. Well, it turns out that these books are being read by an angel. The son of the family, the young Maurice Despavieux, his guardian angel, named Arcade, has been reading these books. He's been filching them from the library, under the nose of Sadegh, who is gradually succumbing to mental illness in a very comedic way. And after becoming enamored with human studies of science and philosophy and all these things, the angel has lost his faith. And he decides that he's finished, much to the disappointment of Maurice, who didn't even know he had a guardian angel, but now is going to miss him terribly. The angel appears one day in a room with this woman that Maurice is courting. Well, not only does poor Maurice learn that he has a guardian angel, or had, that in fact this angel has become disillusioned and has decided he will no longer be his guardian angel, but then the angel ends up sleeping with his love interest before abandoning them both to go and collect other angels, other fallen angels, to band together and go wage war on God. The second war in heaven. This, understandably, leaves Maurice quite perplexed and depressed indeed. The angel, named Arcade, informs us that God, whom we think of as God, the God, right? The current God, responsible for all this, as opposed to the old gods, is actually named not Jehovah nor Yahweh. Apparently he's not an almighty, been there since time immemorial God, but rather, according to him, an incompetent demiurge named Yaldabaoth. And he's actually kind of a sham, bit of a blowhard. Talks a big game, but doesn't really deliver. Yeah. So Arcade has taken human form, he's come down to Earth, and as he's naked when he takes the form of a man, he dons the clothes of a suicide with the help of Maurice. The first set of clothes in a shop that Maurice can find. Fittingly, as he is no longer an angel of God. And so here he is, seeking in the squalid corners of Paris other renegade fallen angels who have lost their faith and are plotting vengeance. In places such as a bar of ill repute with Russian nihilists and Italian anarchists and many other interesting folks. And now a group of disgruntled fallen angels pledging allegiance to Satan. One of them is a struggling musician, another makes homemade bombs, another is a gardener. The best part of the book, as Daniel, the fellow who sent this to me, in his note pointed out, was the story of Nectaire, the fallen angel, now gardener, in chapter 18, relating how things went down with the first war on God, as he was a soldier and personally knew Lucifer. So, this is after the angels have lost, they've been cast out down into the pit, and they're kind of gradually coming back together and realizing what's happened, and this starts off with Lucifer addressing his fallen angels. "Comrades," said he, "we must be happy and rejoice, for behold, we are delivered from celestial servitude. Here we are free, and it were better to be free in hell than serve in heaven." That's playing off of a famous line from Paradise Lost. "We are not conquered, since the will to conquer is still ours. We have caused the throne of the jealous God to totter. By our hands it shall fall. Arise, therefore, and be of good heart." Thereupon, at his command, we piled mountain upon mountain, and on the topmost peak we reared engines which flung molten rocks against the divine habitations. The celestial host was taken unaware, and from the abodes of glory there issued groans and cries of terror. And even then we thought to re-enter in triumph on our high estate, but the mountain of God was wreathed with lightnings, and thunderbolts falling on our fortress crushed it to dust. After this fresh disaster the seraph remained a while in meditation, his head buried in his hands. At length he raised his darkened visage. Now he was Satan, greater than Lucifer. Steadfast and loyal the angels thronged about him. Friends, he said, if victory is denied us now, it is because we are neither worthy nor capable of victory. Let us determine wherein we have failed. Nature shall not be ruled. The scepter of the universe shall not be grasped. Godhead shall not be won, save by knowledge alone. We must conquer the thunder. To that task we must apply ourselves unwearyingly. It is not blind courage, no one this day has shown more courage than have you, which will win us the courts of heaven, but rather study and reflection. In these silent realms where we are fallen, let us meditate, seeking the hidden causes of things. Let us observe the course of nature. Let us pursue her with compelling ardor and all-conquering desire. Let us strive to penetrate her infinite grandeur, her infinite minuteness. Let us seek to know when she is barren and when she brings forth fruit, how she makes cold and heat, joy and sorrow, life and death, how she assembles and disperses her elements, how she produces both the light air we breathe and the rocks of diamond and sapphire whence we have been precipitated, the divine fire wherewith we have been scarred, and the soaring thought which stirs our minds. Yeah, pretty good. So those are the words of Satan. So, these fallen angels, so they're all over the world. Like, they're in Europe, they're in Japan, they're everywhere. And yeah, so Arcade has taken up the task of getting them all together to wage the second war in heaven. Naturally led by the same guy, you know who apparently has secluded himself in like this jungle palace on the edge of the Ganges River in India. As far as the narrative itself, it's very simple prose, very straightforward. There are some comedic surprises, some role reversals, and the ironic ending is clever. But basically it's just a bunch of atheistic philosophy stuffed into a vehicle of some fluffy comedic fiction. Not unlike Sadegh, actually, but instead of pornography, it's a silly, simple narrative about political insurrection and, and trysts and spats between lovers. It's pretty thin. On first read, it felt much more Neil Gaiman than Dostoevsky, right? I'm not a Gaiman fan. Absolutely nothing against him. I just don't typically like fantasy or stuff in that department. I read Good Omens years ago, and I was just sort of like, meh. This book definitely has that vibe. So if you're a Gaiman fan, I mean, yeah, you'll love this. The power of the book lies in the part I read to you, in the imagining of the war in heaven. Not so much in the earthly plot, which is, kind of run-of-the-mill and pretty thin. Kind of like ridiculously sentimental at points, just doesn't, what would you call it? Just theatrically sentimental or something. But I mean, it is a very unique book. It's an Orwellian satanic satire. It's worth reading once. The younger you are, the less you've read, I think the more you're going to enjoy it, actually. I thought the depiction of the fallen angels as political rebels was clever, and I thought the sort of representation of the war in heaven as political revolution was intriguing. It seems kind of like a slave rebellion when you think about it. A mutiny. Lucifer is a complex symbol, it's not clear-cut at all in the religious literature, neither in mythology nor in the Bible. Great fodder for fiction, no doubt. Paradise Lost is one of my favorite books, though honestly it's been so damn long I really need to reread that. Re-review it. Anatole France has an affinity for Lucifer and Satan as a symbol and character, like this symbol of intelligence and, wise rebellion. This kind of political underdog fighting tyrannical authority. The strange thing to me, though, which I couldn't help but noticing all throughout the entire novel, was that he's only depicted in a positive light. In this book. Lucifer, the Lightbringer. And that's a disappointing aspect to the novel, in my opinion. That's a serious missed opportunity. Because it's just like, oh, he's really just a nice guy, It's like he's sort of interchangeable with any other sympathetic political underdog or rebel, right? The Satan of Dante's Inferno is completely missing. The whole thing regarding damnation and sin and evil and torture, eternal torture, Bertrand de Born's headless monologue, all that hellish mythos has vanished. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of good stuff in here, but if you were to take away all the philosophy of atheism or whatever, it really, all you're left with is outrageously wacky hijinks. One might even regretfully call it slightly zany. There's no pain, no suffering, no hatred, nor tormented satanic revelations. Men are like breaking into tears for no reason, like, get the fuck out of here. I mean, there are great points made for sure, but I mean, it doesn't even give Christianity a fighting chance, And that's coming from somebody who is probably an atheist. Depends on the season. During summer in Florida, I am a vehement atheist. Hell is clearly on Earth. It's hotter than hell out there. You find me here on a sunny day in winter, like staring out the window at the cute little doves or maybe at some manatees, and I'm like, well, maybe there's a god. But then, inevitably, I'll read the news and I'll slam my MacBook down in disgust and I'll go to curls to bloodfire death or the downward spiral. It's more my MO these days. But yeah, that's the biggest complaint I have with the book, It just makes it all too cute. Right? It's just so cute. Oh, here's Satan and his angels. Yeah, down with God. And these are things that should be, in my opinion, taken very seriously. right? You can do what he did and it could be really successful. And there is some good stuff in here for sure, but it just has this cute sentimentality that really, in my opinion, really needed to be traded in for like this heavy, dense meditation on the nature of evil and sin and you know, this chaotic dichotomy inside of mankind. I really was craving that, and it just does not deliver in that case. It felt unfinished and unrealized, you know? Nevertheless, I enjoyed it. It's very interesting as a record of a certain time and place, though, without question. And it feels strikingly modern, even though it was written more than a century ago. That's remarkable. And I don't want to totally diminish its power, you know? There are some very powerful questions raised in the book. The strongest for me was actually a short line about the afterlife, the idea of an afterlife. I mean, this could have been written by Chiron, who I just reviewed, but I thought this was terrific. And this is just in the middle of this guy talking. For the majority of people, though they do not know what to do with this life, long for another that shall have no end. Huh. Kind of makes you stop to think, doesn't it? What on earth would you do with eternal life? I mean, really. All of life is entirely based around the two facts that you are physical and you are going to die. You're born, you age, you live, and you die. Now, what would life be without those? And even if you got it, you know, it's, I mean, like, in which stage of life, too, right? You know, is it like, what if it, like, you know, well, picture like, you know, like, oh, heaven, our friends and family. Well, are they going to be when they were, is everybody going to be like in their 20s? Or what? You want to be like in your 50s in heaven? Or your 60s, 70s in heaven? For eternity? For eternity. You know what I mean? Which age is the picture taken? You know, like that captures like, this is the model of Cliff in his prime. It's actually when he's like 56, you know, like when he's got prostate cancer. So you're going to be 56. You know, you're going to be who you were with prostate cancer at 56 for eternity. And I'll be up there at the pearly gates and I'll be like, excuse me, which way is hell? So yeah, there's some good stuff in the book, but is this going to convince you to be a Satanist? I mean, sure, it'll give you some excellent talking points to ruin the holiday get-togethers with your religious relatives who didn't give it much thought, for sure. But will it sway sincere Christians? I doubt it. I think you're fine. You know, I think probably Christians would probably get a kick out of reading it, honestly. That line was the most effective for me, honestly. It's just the practical nature of being like, well, what would you do with eternal life when you really don't know what the hell you want to do in the first place? No pun intended, or was it intended? I just thought that was very painfully existentially funny. So better than food? I was gonna say no, but it was so on the fence that I'm just gonna say yes. And just because it's like such an oddity, you know? This is 1914. This is an old book. And it's genuinely humorous. I mean, it is actually funny. I mean, just look at the chapter titles, like 135 here, you know. They get progressively more elaborate, right, you know. Chapter 3, wherein the mystery begins. You know, chapter 6, wherein Père Sadegh discovers his missing treasures. But then it goes to like chapter 23, wherein we are permitted to observe the admirable character of Bouchot, who resists violence but yields to love. After that, let no one call the author a misogynist. Can't escape it. How little things have changed. I mean, where are you going to find something like this? And especially in 1914. It's just so unique, right? So it's far from perfect, and it's nowhere near the stature of Paradise Lost or Dante's Inferno. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty damn cool. Better than food. Fuck it. If you're into Milton and Dante and all that, then I'd say absolutely get this. All right. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I take the names of all the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video to the show. I place their names in this mason jar, and for every review I do, I pull out a name, and whoever's name I pull out is sent a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing, plus a bag of coffee, roasted by yours truly. And the coffee is delicious. If you would like to get in on that and help support the show, I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much. You can click on the link below or go to patreon.com/books-are-better-than-food and donate $5 or more per video. For $1 more, you'll get access to all the cool stuff listed below. Please check it out. Thank you. And international shipping is included. Cool. Thank you very much to all the patrons, and best of luck. Okay, here we go. Michael S. Thank you very much, Michael. That's ironic, considering they're warring against the Archangel Michael. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. you're going to receive Revolt of the Angels by Anatole, France, plus a bag of delicious coffee roasted by yours truly, and I hope you love both. Cheers. Please subscribe if you have not already, and hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and always remember, bring a book wherever you go. All right, take care of yourselves. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Ciao.